Hello and welcome! This week we are talking about incorporating credible sources and research into your writing. This is things like articles, reports, essays, blog posts, anything that requires a credible source of information to back up what you have written. This is massively important, especially at the moment. Everybody has access to an online platform, be that a blog or social media, and that means there is a lot of opinion flying around on the internet masquerading as truth, where pretty much the majority of what you read online is complete and utter bullshit. And that means when you're writing, you have to be extra specially careful to make sure that your writing is credible. You will gain a much more loyal readership with credible writing, and you will also have a much more valuable offering to your reader because what you're saying has statistical evidence from experts to back it up. Same goes for if you are writing an industry report or an article for a publication. It can be really difficult to figure out what is a credible source online and where you should be taking your information from. So we're going to go through how to find credible sources and how to determine what's a good source, what's a bad source, and then we'll cover how to actually reference them in your writing as well. So let's get on into it. First up, you need to think about the words you're using when you're searching for your credible sources. So just be extra specially careful to pick out specifics in the words that you're using in search engines. For example, searching for how many British expats went on holiday to the UK last year, statistics 2017, you're more likely to get much more specific results than if you just searched who went on holiday last year. If you catch my drift, you're going to save yourself a hell of a lot of time, and this comes from somebody who spends a heck of a lot of time searching for sources online for use in blog posts and industry reports. I write a shit ton of them. I'm going to say at least 70% of the work that I do, okay, that's a bit much. Let's say 60% of the work I do is blogging and report writing. So I know my onions when it comes to searching for these things, and it can take a hell of a long time. If you're not specific and you don't know the correct terms to use to search, you're taking up a lot of your own time and you're going to get really annoyed and bored and be led off down a lot of different tangents which are completely irrelevant. So keep your search terms incredibly specific as you possibly can. And also try phrasing it in a couple of different ways as well, because the way that you think about it might be completely different from the way that somebody else who's actually written about it has written it. So try and tweak a little bit of the phrasing and swap it around just to make sure that you're covering all the bases when it comes to actually finding relevant information for what it is you are writing. My next tip is going to be to check the URL of the site that you're on before you commit to using that particular piece of information for your writing. So if you've landed on a website and it's sarah.com, you're probably not going to want to use that because it's somebody's personal blog. If they've used research in that blog post and you can tell that they have used credible research, don't cite Sarah's blog post. Hop on the link that she's referenced or search the information that she's used and go to the original source and check that out and make sure that's all kosher before you use it. Another example would be to not use anything that you find on Wikipedia, because anyone can write that shit, man. It's not fact. So try to avoid using anything like that. So just do check out the URL. Really, what you want to do is go to a credible research source. Some of my favourites would be the Office for National Statistics, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and any other scholarly articles that Google throws up for you. You can find that in the search. It will come right up at the top of your search engine results, and it will tell you who wrote it, how many people have used that as a citation as well. So you can pretty much gather the more people who have used it, the more credible it is in theory. Any really awesome research firm that have actually been paid to conduct a nationwide or a worldwide study with a huge pool of people. So it's not just like they've asked 20 people what they thought about this. Do you know what I mean? Like, you want to make sure that there's a nice big spread and that the results that you're getting are really effing credible. And think about also what it will do if you're writing online and you're linking back to these websites. That's also really good for the SEO on your site as well. So it pays to think about that too. Next up, publication date. If you are writing something that is relevant to the here and the now, you don't want to cite any information that was published in 2012. Make sure that you're looking. You can sometimes see this information when it pops up on the search engine results page. You can see when it was published, so that will give you a massive tip. Check your URL, check the date, and then you can already cross that off the list. You don't need to visit that site and start reading and get into the information and get down in it, and then 15 minutes later you realise actually that was published 20 years ago and it's no longer relevant. So you can already cancel some of those articles out as you're scrolling through and save yourself a hell of a lot of time if you remember to check the date. If it doesn't matter what the date is, that's great. Just make sure that the URL and the site that you're going to is reputable before you start delving in for statistics. My final tip is a little bit of a tricky one, but if you can do it, it lends a heck of a lot of credibility to your writing, and that is to contact an expert directly and ask them for a quote for your piece. This is particularly useful for journalistic pieces and articles, and can sometimes even be used in industry reports as well. And if you can get it for a blog post, damn, that is some sexy shit right there. So just pop them an email and say, oh hey, I read your report on this, or I'm writing something on that, I'd really like to get your views. Can I give you a call for a quote, or do you want to just email me back and let me know your thoughts? It adds really good, juicy, extra credibility to your writing as well. So you've got all your research, you've managed to find a lot of juicy, sexy statistics and facts and figures. What the hell are you going to do with them? You need to incorporate them into your writing, making sure that you are properly referencing the source that you took it from. If you don't properly reference it, that's a little something that we like to call plagiarism. And plagiarism is a big fat no-no. It ruins your credibility, even though you did all of that work to find a source to make yourself look more trustworthy and more knowledgeable. You just fucked it all up because you stole the information that you found. So, how do you properly reference information in your writing? I go into a hell of a lot of detail on this on a blog post I've written, which I will link to below if you want to go. Sometimes I find with things like this, it's more helpful to see it written down and to see a proper written example of it all in action. So if you want to do that, there is a link for you below, but just to quickly go over it here, paraphrasing it would be to say, a leading research firm said that Emma Cownley had a lot of viewers and they all really liked her work. So you're not directly quoting them, you're just telling the facts, kind of third person, and quoting who said it. And if you wanted to add the URL, which is another reference technique, you can just put the URL in there and then people can be like, oh, that's where the information is from, I can go back and find that. If you wanted to do a direct quote, you would say, a leading research firm said, Emma is really awesome and her videos are really useful, end quote. Another way to reference information is to use footnotes. This is particularly useful if you're writing an essay or a report. You should have the functionality for this on the word processing tool that you are using, where you can just kind of select the functionality and it takes you to the footer of the page and it's numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, and you put in the source properly at the bottom, date of publication, who published it, what the title of the publication was, and then a link to that publication. As I said, I'm going to include examples for all of this on my blog post, so you can check that out and see it with your own two eyes to puzzle it out properly rather than have me tell you in your face. So that brings us to the end of the video. I hope you found this useful, and I damn well hope that I'm going to start seeing a lot more blog posts with proper research in them, correctly attributed back to the original source, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. If you don't do that, you're just another Tom, Dick or Harry that uses the internet or uses a report to say, I said this. All very well and good that you said that, but who cares? You're not an expert in your industry. If you are, by all means do exactly that, but you probably have your own research to share anyway, so it won't be just you saying, I said this, it will be real. If you've got any questions, you can pop a comment below and I'll answer you. You can find me on Twitter at @EJCownley and I will happily answer those questions for you. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe, or tap the bell for notifications each time a new video goes live. And until next week, I will see you back here, same time, same place. Take care.